The 40 Lessons Podcast is a Shining Starlet Entertainment production.
Time for another week of life, love, and everything in between on the 40 Lesson Podcast. Welcome to the 40 Lesson Podcast, where we talk about life, love, and everything in between. It's your boy 40 Lessons, and as you see, Tori is out on assignment or something. Who knows what Tori be doing? You know, Tori do what she want to do. If y'all ain't figured that out yet, Tori do what she want to do. But I got a guest sitting in with me this week, man. Miss Fort Green.
Hey, how you doing? How everybody doing?
Now, you know ain't nobody named their child Fort Green.
Boy, don't play with me.
I'm just saying. So clearly she don't want somebody to know who she is. And that's fine.
Hey, you got to use pseudonyms when it suits you.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Tell the people a little bit about you, where you from, what you do, if you can tell us what you do. I mean, you know.
First off, do somebody because you was going real hard on me.
I ain't said nothing.
So, Michelle is native of Brooklyn.
Oh.
And I am...
Brooklyn in the house.
Brooklyn, New York in the house.
What's up, Biggie?
And Fort Green is definitely the neighborhood that I grew up in.
Oh, you from that Fort Green?
From that Fort Green.
Okay.
So definitely here now, 16 years, relocated to this DMV area, not knowing a soul.
Is that right?
With my child.
I hear you.
Making a living.
You got the Marvin Sapp never would have made it going
absolutely.
on.
Huh? Make sure you put that in the music backdrop, Shawty. That's gonna be real good.
Oh man, well, welcome to the show.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for sitting in. Thanks for sitting in with me. We're gonna be talking about with Fort Green today. We're gonna be chatting about co-parenting. So let me set this up for y'all. What's gonna happen? It's gonna be a 2-part show with the co-parenting thing. Me and Fort Green gonna get into co-parenting from a woman's perspective. Then for my Father's Day show, I'm going to have some guys on the show, and we're going to talk about Black fatherhood. And what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of chop it up with them about some of the things that we pull out of this show.
Okay.
And talk about how that dynamic goes with, with the co-parenting piece when the relationship goes wrong. So y'all stay tuned for Father's Day. This show going to drop June 17th. We're going to drop this show June 17th, and it's going to be a Father's Day special from the 40 Lesson Podcast. We're going to really get into what parenting is and Black love and how we should, do that in a more functional way when the love or the two adults in the relationship has decided to move on to other things.
So
those kids still need certain things from them.
Keyword in that whole subject was two adults.
You're right.
Everybody need to be an adult.
And speaking of adults,
yes,
it's time to get into This Is America.
Yes, it is.
We're gonna talk about two adults that seem to be struggling with their adulthood right now, in respects to custody of their child.
Correct.
Nas and Khalees.
Yes. So at this time,
he about to put her in jail.
And rightfully so. If she did,
you think she should go to jail?
If she did what he is accusing her of doing.
Well, they had a court order.
They did.
There's some things you can do. And see, so for y'all who don't have children yet or haven't been married and divorced yet, and that's a good thing if you married and haven't been divorced, don't get divorced. Try to stay together. Call your boy. I can help you stay together. I don't want you divorced. But for those who have went through divorce or have had a child with someone, there may be a time and place in which court is required. If court is required, a man or woman sits in a robe on a bench and they decide for the two of you what will be done. They will take your input, but once you're in that courtroom,
they are making the decision what is best for your child. And that means that the two adults are no longer acting responsibly for that unconditional love for that child or those
I won't
children.
say that they're not acting responsibly. I'll say that they're not communicating.
But you cannot be non-communicative and still acting responsibly too.
We'll get into that in a minute.
Okay.
Let's talk about Nas and Khalees.
Okay.
Clearly, this co-parenting thing gonna be good a little later on. I'm telling you. Clearly, she has some feelings on this topic.
I am here for that reason.
So it's interesting, we ain't gonna be on Nas and Khalees long because I just hate that it's like this. You got two very popular celebrities.
Right.
Nas is just trying to be a father to his child. Nas has other children as well, but
Right.
He's doing the best he can to try to have somewhat of a functional situation here. Some things were agreed upon in court. Correct. And his claim is that she's violating those things. My whole point of even bringing up this in America is that, you know, it really shouldn't get to this point to where it's this ugly. You know, absolutely. I mean, she talking about 20, I think I read 20 counts of contempt of court she's being held against. Yes. If found guilty for the child was supposed to be back on January 4th, she didn't bring the baby back till the 14th. I hear the baby was in Colombia. He couldn't get in touch with him. I'm like...
I mean, you're in violation. You're in violation of many things, and that lack of communication factor goes hugely.
I get it, but that's your child's mother. Do you really think your baby in danger?
No, it should not be the case. That really should not be the case. But at the same time, I need to know where my child is. And I will get into a personal story that went left and then went back right.
We're going to get into that because that where my child is thing gets things popping. It gets things. Because one of the two parents feel like they're being babysitted and how they get to spend time with their child. Correct. And I think that's probably what Khalees is feeling in this moment. Correct. Like, you know, it was probably a phone call, like, you better be back here by January 4th. And he probably like, what you gonna do? She was like, what you gonna do if I ain't?
She called his bluff.
You know, and he probably like, no problem, call this white man. We gonna get this thing popping. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. So we got this justice system going. So look, man, we'll keep our eyes on the Khalees and Nas thing.
And hope that these two adults can come to some resolution for the sake of the child.
Absolutely, because I don't want nobody in jail around something is easily fixable. Absolutely. As a co-parenting situation or visitation with your child, because number one, the child need both of you.
They absolutely
and if
do.
Both parents are willing and capable, then we should figure out a way for that to happen.
Hopefully they will, and the court is in the court's hands now.
And you know, sliding off that This Is America topic, man, we're gonna go right into what we here to talk about today, man. We here to talk about co-parenting. 40 Lessons, a coach for life. For life coaching services, contact Dumisani Solwazi at thereal40lessons@gmail.com. That's thereal40lessons@gmail.com. This co-parenting episode is gonna air on the backside of a dating series I got coming for y'all. The summer is coming, man. People about to start doing what people do in the summer.
Copulating.
So I'm gonna do a 4-part series, man, where I talk about the meet.
Okay.
The dating.
Okay.
The relationships / engagement.
Okay.
And the marriage.
Okay.
And so this co-parenting piece is what happens when that relationship / engagement / marriage don't work out.
Absolutely.
And people need to think about this in the meet and the dating portion.
Correct.
When you selecting a person.
Correct.
And if children is in your future.
You want to get all your expectations out on the table.
Well, you need to, first of all, make sure that your expectations are their expectations.
Absolutely.
See, a lot of times we go into these situations and we got these things in our mind that we feel this person should do.
Yes.
And we're expecting this person to do
Correct.
it. Somehow, some way, we ain't even told this to the other person.
Absolutely not.
So the other person is
because you believe that person is clairvoyant and they're going to figure it out.
Absolutely.
Because they've heard your concerns and they've listened to you
it's not even
entirely.
It's not even the clairvoyancy. It's the fact that you believe this is the common way to do things and you just wouldn't understand why wouldn't nobody else do it this way. That's just the way it works. So let's talk a little bit about your situation. Now, you're a mother of a 17-year-old little princess?
I have a beautiful 17-year-old princess in which her father and I, when we first met, he had 2 other kids. Okay. Right? We were young. We were in the military. Okay. I was 20 and he had 2 other kids. He became a father at 14.
Wow.
Yes, very early.
He been slanging them weeds for a minute, huh? All right.
And then he had another child when he was 17. So when I met him at 21, he already had 2 children. Okay. Now that didn't stop me from pursuing
Brooklyn
him.
Too?
He was not. He was a country boy from Alabama.
Alabama, the age requirement is different in Alabama. Okay, no, I'm just playing. I'm playing with Alabama.
So he did not, that didn't stop me. I was able to see past the children.
People come flaws sometimes.
People come with their flaws. He had a wonderful, beautiful personality at the time.
And he knew his kids' names.
He knew his kids' names.
He was taking care of his kids.
He was taking care of his kids, hence the reason why he was in the military.
All that is commendable.
All that is commendable.
Absolutely.
Yes. So then, of course, the relationship turned into this beautiful blossoming relationship. But at the end, we were I'm leaving to go to another base. He's leaving the military completely.
The military destroyed black love.
The military did not destroy black love.
Them orders will get you. Where you going?
But you gotta go. You
gotta go.
And decisions had to be made. But it was around that time that I learned of the pregnancy. And so it was
on your way to another duty station.
On my way to another duty station, on his way out of the military, I learned of this pregnancy. And he was initially very happy. And then week 2, 3 down the road, it became very, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm leaving the military. I don't know what kind of life I'm going to have. I don't really want this baby.
Oh.
So now that falls on me. Right?
I shot the shot.
You done shot the shot.
The shot done landed.
Correct.
The game is on.
The game is on.
And I don't want to play no more, Coach.
I no longer want to participate.
Okay. So now you had to make a decision as a woman.
I had to make
as women most often do.
Correct.
And on this thing, I always tell cats, when dudes be like, man, she pregnant. Oh, okay.
And she should have knew. I ain't want to have.
That ain't the conversation. Usually it's like, we going back and forth about what to do. I'm like, well, you got input.
Correct.
But that's her body.
Correct.
And she got the ultimate word on what's going to happen.
Correct.
If I were you, I'd prepare myself to be a father. Because if that's what the woman decides to do, really in my mind, once you've engaged in sexual activity at an adult age.
Correct.
Without protection.
Correct.
Knowing you fertile.
Correct.
And Myrtle is fertile.
Right.
And you being fertile inside Myrtle.
Right.
I mean, I don't understand.
The repercussions that
what you expect to happen.
Absolutely.
This process has been explained to us since the 8th grade. We know what goes on.
Right.
So you should be willing to reap or deal with the consequences of your action, in my opinion. And that's not to say I'm perfect at all, because I've in my book you'll read I've been in a relationship where the young lady had an abortion.
Right.
So, but that was the young lady's call. That was her choice.
Right.
So I mean, if it had to went another direction, I have 5 little basketball players running around the joke. You know what I'm saying? But
we had that conversation in the weeks after he learned of the pregnancy, because of the fact that he was separating and I was going to be moving to a different duty station. He was trying to figure out how would we make this a unit? How would it work?
Now, what was the distance going to be?
It was going to be me in England and him in Alabama.
Woo, England and Alabama. Charlie Huss. Hey, boy. That's quite a stark contract.
That is quite a stark crash.
Oh, man.
But the thing was, because of the previous baby mothers that he dealt with, he was reluctant.
So it's 2 different baby mothers.
Baby mothers.
Oh, okay.
And so he was reluctant that I would keep my word in saying that there wouldn't be an issue in communicating and in getting to see the child. Because even though I was going to the next duty station, I knew that I wasn't going to be long standing in the military. And I knew I would eventually be leaving within that year or so anyway. Okay. So now I will be back in New York. And so I'll be back in the States. And that will make it easier for us to maintain
get back and forth
a stable relationship.
But again, he don't know all this.
I'm communicating that to him, but he's in disbelief because he's had previous experience where those were the expectations that was so. He had
the whole classic going on in his head. Heard it all before.
Right.
yeah. He wasn't believing none of that.
He wasn't believing none of that.
Yeah, I did.
So I completely get it. And that, looking back on the situation, I completely get it. But you walked out of your child's life. You didn't walk away from Michelle. Because the relationship had already, obviously by the pregnancy.
Y'all was at the end.
We were at the end. The relationship had already run its course. You walked out on the opportunity to be there for your child. And Michelle I wasn't that person. And of course, it's about showing and not just telling you. So you can't believe what I'm saying unless you see it definitively. And I didn't get that opportunity at that time.
But a baby came. Baby born abroad in England.
Baby was not born abroad, actually. Baby was born in New York. So there was some
hold up. See, New York people petty. She was probably holding the baby in England. My baby ain't gonna be born in England. I'm from Brooklyn. This baby gonna be born on Bed-Stuy, Flatbush, right? So they got a whole baby they holding in so they can get back to JFK so this baby can be born in the barrows so that the baby can grow up and say that I'm from Brooklyn. Petty New York people.
That's how you are. That was not the case. There was a family tragedy actually that occurred that made me come back to New York, and it was at that time that I had.
So you came back pregnant.
I came back pregnant,
and the baby just happened to come while you was back.
The baby just happened to come while I.
The baby knew they was in New York. Baby came out the room like New York. I'm here. I'm in the crib.
I'm in the crib.
What's popping?
Absolutely.
What's popping? That's good. So we got a baby. We in New York. Now, do you have to go back to England?
I do have to go back to England.
Okay.
So I go back to England, solidify what I need to solidify. It was at that time that I made the decision to separate from the military.
Gotcha.
So now I was only in England for maybe 3 months, and then I came back to New York.
And then my man's still in Alabama.
Man's still in Alabama.
So now what we doing?
So now we're trying.
You thinking about going to Alabama?
Now we are not thinking about going to Alabama. We are actively reaching out to him in Alabama.
So let me ask this question.
Go ahead.
Because I struggle. So this is some of the things I wonder. So we're talking about co-parenting.
Yeah.
And we're talking about having a situation to where we can have our child be in a very positive and healthy environment with both of their parents.
Absolutely.
Why wasn't going to Alabama an option for you, so that your daughter could be closer to her father in his vicinity, or at least close to Alabama, to where maybe he can get to her in a weekend drive or something like that, so that more time or ample time or as much time as possible could be around the child and help with the co-parenting process.
So at that time, what I'm trying to do is reestablish myself.
Okay.
So what do I need to do that?
I mean, Alabama would have cost $10 though, wouldn't it?
It would have cost. But what
Alabama,
job would I
New
have
York,
had? And so again, if I'm trying to provide for my child better than I had, better than my upbringing, what does Alabama afford me? What do the surrounding states around Alabama afford me with the skill set that I had at that current time?
You need to be somewhere.
I need to be somewhere where I can do my thing. So,
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So
how he feel about the baby being in here at this time?
The funny thing was, the crazy thing was, the whole situation from the time that I left where we were stationed in Korea at the time, and then when I left to England, and then I had the family emergency, and then I came back to New York, that whole time he had been absent. The day before I gave birth to this child, he called, and my family is like, oh, she's in the hospital, we'll let her know, and this was at the time.
Did he come to New York?
He did not come to New York. He did not see the baby get born. He called the next day, and they informed him that the baby had arrived.
Okay.
So I gave birth to my daughter the week before Mother's Day. Mm-hmm. He called me. I was in the hospital for a few days. He called me on Mother's Day to wish me a happy Mother's Day. It was at this time now that I'm like, okay, well, now we're conversing. Mm-hmm. That baby is here. What are you planning on doing? I'm in New York with a newborn. So please don't ask me.
Now, you out the Air Force by now.
I'm out of the Air Force by now. Please don't ask me to take my newborn to come see you. Right?
Right.
So
which that shouldn't be the case.
He
should be getting on a plane.
Are you making any arrangements
to come up here?
To come to New York.
And did he not?
I'm sorry. There was just silence.
Silence on the phone.
Silence on the phone.
So we did this little game. Let's babies. We still at 4 months, and we gotta get to baby 17. So let's speed this. let's move this train along. So we went back and forth on this for how long? When did he finally see the baby for the first time?
March 6, 2011.
Hey fellas, let me show y'all something. I asked a question about a moment in time, and she had a date, a month, a date, and a year. I keep telling y'all, stop playing with these women. They don't forget nothing. These things are time stamped. They know when y'all went sideways. She said, March 6, 2011, that Bama showed up. My baby was 12. How old was the baby?
She was 10.
She was what?
She was 10.
Are you serious?
Absolutely.
He had only seen pictures?
He had only seen,
Was FaceTime out by then?
FaceTime was not out by then.
Oh, Jesus.
So what happened was when he was communicating with me when the baby was first born, he actually left Alabama and he was in Texas at this time.
Okay.
So now I'm trying to, still make arrangements. So he wasn't responding to me. He wasn't giving me no feedback on a phone number. He was only calling me. And so now I don't have any means of communication with
Block number when he called you?
All kinds of restricted number, private. You hiding for no reason. So his grandmother maintained her address. So I continued to send pictures of the baby to the grandmother.
Oh, so that's how
that you would get these pictures. Because again,
walking out, see
I'm
a
not
child,
being petty.
and maybe that'll pull on your heart to come see your baby.
I'm not being petty, but at the same time, what I'm not going to do is I'm not forcing you to come see your child.
Wow.
I want you to voluntarily come and see your child. This is your responsibility. This is what you have created. Yes, we decided. And I decided ultimately to keep the baby, even though you voiced your opinion and you didn't want to after a couple weeks of communicating because you didn't know how it was going to work out. That's fine. And that's on you.
Absolutely.
But I was here. And so I said, I'm not going to be petty. I'm going to send you letters. I'm going to send you pictures. And I continue to do that. So
the baby's 10.
The baby is 10. But the baby was 6 years old, right? She said to me, she wanted to know who her father was.
Mm-hmm.
And where is
most kids would,
and so I told her,
especially if they at school and they seeing other
they're
kids,
seeing other kids, and that's exactly where it starts.
That's gonna be a natural progression.
That's gonna be a natural progression.
Where's my daddy?
Where's my daddy?
Absolutely.
So I told her I can't speak on someone who's not here. I am not going to tell you anything about who's not.
But you gave him her
but
name.
I'm here.
You let him know he exists.
I told him he existed.
Okay.
And I'm here. So at this time, 6, she wants to find her daddy. So I actively.
But he wasn't lost though.
He wasn't lost.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to keep that clear. He wasn't lost. We know where he is.
He wasn't lost, but
somewhere between Dallas and Houston.
Somewhere between Dallas and Houston.
Right.
And who knows what other places he'd gone in between that time because no one
was he providing for the child.
He was not.
So for 10 years.
For 10 years.
No provision.
For 10 years, Fort Greene and her village.
And you didn't file for child support or nothing?
I did not.
Woo!
For
boy, you
10
talk about
years,
mercy and grace around this
For 10
jump.
years,
Woo!
I had my support system that was in place in which I did not.
Now you got to give props on that one now, because in a lot of other spaces, people will talk about how bitter women are and how black women do men and things like that. And I just want to highlight this moment.
Absolutely.
That this woman was raising a child by herself.
Absolutely.
For 10 years, where there was a fully grown man somewhere capable of contributing and was not contributing.
And it was not.
And you didn't try to put him in a system. You didn't try to bind him down in any other way.
Because the system wasn't in the room when we had this baby. And I do not agree that the system needed to be in the room at no point in time this existence.
Now that's a big thing
so
you just said right there. The system, that's a quote. The system wasn't in the room. The system
wasn't in the room
when we had this baby.
When we had this baby.
Amen.
They were amen.
That'll preach. That'll preach. Absolutely.
Because now what I need this little girl to know is I need to stand on my principle.
Okay.
I need to stand on when you look at the situation and you get grown and you look at it, I want you to say, Mama did what she was supposed to do. I'm holding my head high.
And
my standard.
Now he got to explain to his daughter.
You have to explain. And that's exactly
whatever that was.
So at 6 years old, she wants me to find him. So I take my money, hire a private investigator, go.
And that took 4 years.
That took 4 years.
Got us to 10.
Before he finally decided, because even
now,
the
did he show up in New York?
No, he actually, because by this time I had already relocated to the DMV area.
Oh, you was up in Maryland?
I moved out here in 03.
Oh, everybody leave New York and come to Maryland.
This is where the jobs were.
They come down here and wear Yankee hats. You know what I'm saying?
I'm wearing a Yankee hat because I'm from New York.
Yeah, right.
That's what I'm doing. But so I'm here now. I reestablished myself. Okay. I came to Maryland with no family. Right? Okay. Absolutely no support system here, but I was able to make it work. So I'm definitely proud of that. With a demanding job and still having a 2-year-old, I was able to provide for her a great life, right? Okay. So 10, he finally
shows up.
He finally got a letter. He got a letter and he called me January 28th, 2011.
She got all the dates.
I got all the dates.
She got all the
dates that changed my point in life.
Okay.
I got all the dates. January 28th, he called me up, and this man and I had a 3-hour conversation as if we had just spoke yesterday. As if we was the best of friends. You know why? Because I wasn't bitter. I wasn't I wasn't harboring any negative feeling towards this man.
You ain't seen our child.
It don't matter. First of all, 10 years ago, I wasn't the same person.
So you used the past as a reference.
As a reference.
You wasn't living in it, though.
I wasn't living in it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I wasn't living in it.
I like that.
10 years had gone by, and you missed out 10 years of your child's life. But it wasn't 10 years that I lived regretting every day that you lived.
Exactly.
I did not regret every day, nor did I tell this little girl anything negative about you. I told her.
Now that was big, because you didn't paint no negative picture.
I didn't paint no picture whatsoever. So when he came into her life.
But he still got to explain where he been.
But not to me.
To her.
to her.
Amen.
Not
That's right.
to me, but
That's
to
his
her.
call.
You don't have to justify your actions to me.
No.
This child now will require an answer when that time comes.
When that time comes.
From January 28th of 2011 until he arrived in Maryland on March 6th of 2011, they spoke on the phone every day.
Oh, wow. So they spoke on the phone. He shows up in Maryland.
Yes.
What was that like for her?
So the initial, because I picked him up from the airport.
Okay.
Because he stayed at my house.
Wow, you even gave him a place to stay.
Because I didn't want it. I didn't want
you
the
want
trip
no excuses.
I didn't want the trip to be very expensive.
I'm gonna let this cost as less for you as possible.
Less for you as possible.
I want our baby to have some time with you.
Absolutely.
Y'all can stay in my house.
Yep.
Knock yourself out. There's some
Absolutely.
eggs in the refrigerator.
Grocery store. Whatever you need.
Okay.
So at the airport, it was very, of course, she doesn't know who this man is. She doesn't have a clue. They've been talking, so she's very reserved.
Of course she
We get in the car and we drive. So there's a Subway not around the corner from the house. He's like, he wants to go to Subway. I said, I don't want anything. She gets out. She says she wants something to drink. They go in separate. They come out holding hands.
Aww.
Now, to this day, I can't tell you what occurred inside that Subway. I do not know. I never asked. I just took a moment to appreciate.
Enjoy what you saw.
Yes.
So now she get to meet her daddy.
Yes.
They went to Subway, got one of them nasty sandwiches, and they came
those
out.
yoga mat sandwiches, I call it.
Sandwich. I'm like, there's so many other places you can get a Subway. Okay, I'm not gonna do that today. Okay, so that's back. So they went to Subway, came out of Subway holding hands, and we go home.
Yes.
Probably played together all evening. She wasn't trying to go to bed. No. Because I might wake up, this brother may not be here.
You never know.
Right. That's just the reality. Listen, the baby's like, I ain't going to sleep. This might end.
I want it to be over. Right, exactly.
So, then what happened? How did the relationship blossom after that? Because I'm trying to get down the timeline because what people don't know, she ended up living with her daddy.
She do.
So I want to get to that. How does that happen?
So 10, they built, again, my responsibility as her parent. Anybody who knows my daughter knows she's always been about family.
Okay.
And I cannot provide family living in the DMV area if all of my family resides in New York.
Okay.
If you left it up to her, she wants to go to New York every weekend.
I bet.
And that ain't feasible, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, he had what I didn't have. He had something to offer that I didn't.
Because she got two other siblings down there.
Siblings. She got,
and then it's the South.
And it's the South.
You got at least 1,200 cousins.
1,200 cousins. Yeah. Her grandmother. He has a sister. They have like 19 different uncles.
So she went to visit one time.
She went to
and
visit
got to see all this
and got to see family.
And that's what she wanted. She's like, I want to go live with my daddy.
With me.
Oh, because it's just you and her.
Because it was just me and her.
How did you take that? So let's pause in that moment for a minute. How does that feel as a mother that has been doing everything she can on her own to provide a life for a child, and for the other parent to show up midway through the process? Let's go with that. Midway through the process. And to see that child.
But still in the blossoming stage.
And still in the blossoming stage. I mean, 10 is
still a questionable age.
Because I got two girls and he has no idea what 16 and 17 was going to look like. Trust me.
Right.
He know now, but he wouldn't have knew then.
then.
So I understand that he's going to do his part, or he's going to take on, his part the best way he can. But still, you felt some kind of way.
So.
Had to.
So what I felt was, if I really love this child.
Mm-hmm.
If I really listen to this child,
mm-hmm.
if I prevent her from getting that family element,
then who am I?
To keep her selfishly, how is she going to know who she is completely? As a whole person, you've lived with me for 10 years.
But we know that happens sometimes,
It
right?
happens all the time.
We know that. We know, unfortunately, unfortunately, I won't put a gender label on it.
Absolutely not.
But I'll say this.
You will say most women. You will say most women.
Don't y'all write for the essence. A woman said it. Don't write me. Send an email. Just get the facts straight. I didn't say that.
You will say most women. I will tell you what the response was from my support system, from my village when I made that decision.
They was like, you crazy.
You crazy. crazy. How my girlfriend who was married and was living as a single parent was saying, how you gonna let this man come in and just take her away? And I'm like, have you not been listening? You haven't been listening to this child. This child needs and wants family, and I cannot prevent her from being able to connect all of the dots. 10 years of me, 10 years of Michelle. You've seen me in my action, in my beauty, but you've not seen him.
But you don't know the other part that makes you you.
No, until you get it.
And that's so big that you. Man, I want people to really grasp how you was able to pull yourself out of that moment.
Yeah.
Because parenting, I tell people, parenting is the most selfish thing you will ever do. I keep telling people, if you selfish, being a parent ain't what you want to be.
No.
If you all about yourself,
selfless.
If you all about yourself, this ain't the job for you.
Correct.
You go do something else. And that action alone was so selfish because it's like, I know I've been giving my last to make sure you have everything you have, and now old boy done showed up, and that's cool, and that's great. Oh, he went and showed you Disney World, so now you ready to go rock out because it's okay, cool. I'm gonna deal with that in my own space.
Absolutely.
But I'm gonna make sure you get what you need.
Get what you need.
So at 11, she goes to live with her father.
At 11, she goes to live with her father.
So she meets her father at 10.
At 10.
By 11, she living with daddy.
By 11, she living with daddy.
How was that? How did that work out? How did that transition go? How was she coming to see you? How did that work? So because she went to Alabama.
She went to Alabama.
From New York to Maryland to Alabama.
She has traveled.
She went from freedom to slavery.
Definitely from freedom to slavery.
At least Jim Crow.
At least Jim Crow.
At least Jim
Crow. So the transition was it. So a child. She come back from again. She done went to Disney World. She done figured out all the beauties of the thing, and now you come back here, and now it's just you and I. And now you're hating every moment. She's getting into fights at school and different things that she was never involved in because she's doing all of these little things for me to make a move. She wants me to do something. So I have to either stop working, make more time for her, because that's what kids do. Kids do a variety of things.
They scream for attention.
They scream for attention. She was doing a variety of things. When
my son screamed for attention, I bust him in his chest.
Hey, listen. And that's what men do.
He be like, oh, you paying attention to that? I'm watching. What else you need? He be like, I'm good. Right.
I'm all right. And what women do is we address it. Yeah. I see what it is that you're manipulating because you're a kid and you recognize how to manipulate and you're manipulating the situation. So at this time,
women wouldn't do that.
Women?
They don't do no manipulation and all that.
No.
When do they do that?
They never.
Never.
These are princesses we talking about.
Oh, okay.
Not women.
Not women.
We're talking about the babies.
The babies do it.
Babies do
Grown
it.
women don't do that.
Grown women do not.
Oh.
That's a topic for another day.
Yeah, lies and fallacies. But go ahead.
So at this time now the outside dynamic that I learned later was he had 4 at the time. So my daughter actually is child number 4 and not number 3.
Oh, you didn't know the third baby slipped in the game.
I didn't know the third baby slipped in the game.
Somebody came off the bench hit a triple-double.
In the absence of those 10 years,
he was doing his thing.
Which
explains your block numbers and your star 69s and all
that. Well, he had a baby before, but didn't know it was his baby, and then later learned through the court that it was.
Wow, you need to put his name out there because people don't even need to share a drink with him.
Well,
clearly, they're gonna get pregnant.
Well, so he's married now to that first because he has a son, a daughter.
So he married his 14-year-old sweetheart.
He married not that one, the next one.
17-year-old.
17.
That's what's up.
Not the 17-year-old because she's 20 something now. He has kids older.
I know, but the baby he had at 17.
The baby that he had at 17.
He married that mother.
Correct.
Wow. So what he got? 4 or 5 now?
So he got 5 kids and including 5 baby
daughter.
mamas.
Including your daughter.
Yes.
Wow. Hey man, that's balance.
That's balance.
So
talking about balance, this is how it happened.
Okay.
So when we had the conversation that my daughter is going to come live with you, at this time, he and I had been communicating. Again, my child is in your life. You've come around, and so now we're communicating. So he was just saying to me the month before he wants to have all his children under one roof.
He wanted all of my babies together.
He wanted all my babies together. So
he's contacting all 5 women.
Not yet. What happened was I said, well, I'll start this, and I will make my child go down there. Once the other baby mothers heard that I was sending her,
then they was like, okay.
Right.
Because I don't want to be the baby. I don't want to be the one to not do it.
I don't want to be the first one.
And I don't want to be the one that not do it.
I don't want to be the one that
exactly.
So now,
I look crazy.
Because I look crazy. Oh. So I started it, and then they all followed suit. So
the
in 2012,
we play, I tell you, are amazing.
So in 2012, he was able to get all 3 kids, because he had an older son who was already off doing his thing, but he got to have.
Because that's the 14-year-old, right?
That the one he had at 14.
So the 14, them 2 kids grown by now.
These kids are grown, but one of them, like the daughter, still was there. You know what I mean? She's going to college, so she's still living there. So he has that one. He has the middle child, and then he has my daughter, which at the time she was the baby.
Right. But now she ain't the baby no more.
She is not.
She's a senior in high school this year.
She graduated.
Early
already.
Look at that.
She did. That girl, let me tell you something. That girl is amazing.
That is a great story.
Yes.
Because even though it started the way that it started, right. And this is what I want people to catch out of this. You know, I was teasing a little bit throughout the mix, but what I want people to catch out of this piece of what we just talked about was, for 10 years, this man wasn't in your daughter's life.
Yes.
You could have threw him away. You could have easily been like things that God wouldn't say to people, to him, and had him gone about his business. And you could have been, in that 10 years, putting things in your daughter that could have made her hate him and reveal him and not ever want to speak to him. But for 10 years, you did not allow that negativity to enter your child's life in reference to her father.
No.
And you kept a door open and an availability for her to meet the man that was responsible for her being on this earth.
Right.
And then for them on the backside, not only for them to meet, for them to be eventually in a situation in which she was living with him, and not only him, but her other siblings.
Absolutely.
And getting able to experience the full scope and breadth of her family.
Absolutely.
Not only her New York family on her mama's side, but her father's family in Alabama. And you can't have 2 more stark contrasts than New York and Alabama. Trust me, y'all.
Absolutely.
But I want to commend you for that, because a lot of women don't pull that off. I mean, women be mad about Pampers. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I know people who getting the child support check and ain't happy. It ain't enough. Well, what you trying to buy? I mean, what are y'all trying to get?
I don't get it. What I wanted to hold firm is I wanted her to be respectful still of my responsibility, of my actions. Right. When I'm called down to the carpet, you're going to ask me, what did I do? And I want to be able to stand there and say, I contributed nothing to why you or her do not have whatever relationship there is supposed to be, or not, whatever is non-existent. I have to be responsible. And I listened to this child and I loved her. So in truly unconditionally loving this child, I gave her what I thought was the best thing for her. Not for me.
Not for you.
Because if it was best for me, she would still be here for forever, living in the bubble, because I didn't want my princess to be out here with
society. And that would have made you happy.
And that would have made me happy. That would have made her miserable.
And I tell people that all the time.
You can't.
The accountability piece. I tell people all the time, when you decide to be accountable for your actions. I don't care what the other outside inputs are. I don't care what anybody else did to you.
Correct.
When you can step back from that situation and say, what was my contribution to this?
Yes.
Don't even worry about
what he did.
What did I do?
What did I do?
What can I do?
Correct.
How can I make this different?
Correct.
When everything is about what you can do and you move on those actions, irregardless of what someone else is doing, I think you'll find the peace that you're looking for in a lot of these situations. And really, that's really the key to it. You had peace in a situation that most people wouldn't have had peace with.
Correct.
Most people would have walked around and that would have been their battle cry.
That would have been.
I've been a single mama 400 years, raising this child by myself. Her daddy can't be found. Hey, man, and don't get me wrong. I get it. That should not be the case.
It should not be the case.
But that should not be your mantra.
That should not be your justification for why you carry on the way you do. At the end of the day, if we're holding ourselves accountable, and if we love our children, if you love your children, you listen to your children, you as the parent know what they need. And then you will alleviate negative things from their life. But what purpose would it have served her if I told her negative things about this man who she wasn't there when we was doing whatever?
Had nothing to do with you. Had nothing to do with you and his relationship.
No. And for 10 years, you made a selfish choice.
Absolutely.
That was your choice. You missed out on 10 years. I was front and center. I didn't miss it a beat. I was there.
You was in the room.
I was the loudest one in the room.
Absolutely.
Making sure everyone knew that if she only had one person, it sounded like it was 70 people. Making sure she knew she wasn't no unwanted child. The child was loved.
She was probably like, yeah, that's my mama.
That is definitely, she know her mama is going to be out here yelling and screaming.
But that's what we do for our babies.
That's what we do for our babies.
That's what we do for our babies. We embarrass the fool out of them.
Surely do.
And they act like they don't like it.
And they love it.
But don't be somewhere and watch it. My son was,
and don't
you
not
traveling.
be there.
What you mean you traveling?
Don't be there. Let the seat be empty. They know in the middle of the performance because they look at you for a reference. And they need to see you.
They be looking at you. I'm doing good. You doing great. All right, cool. You know, that's how they are. And that's the joy of being a parent. That's one of the joys of being a parent. Man, that was a good conversation. I can't wait to get with the fellas on the backside of that because this is a little twist. This ain't the norm. This ain't the norm.
This is not the norm. I can't wait. I am not the anomaly, and I am not the black unicorn.
You are not.
There should be more women out here,
and they should. That story should be told.
That story should be
because all we hear about is the drama.
Yes,
we don't hear about all the positive black parents.
Correct.
That are out there doing everything they can.
Yes.
To make sure that their child has a connection with the other parent.
Correct.
And that's man, because I'm a single dad. My 13-year-old son lives with me.
Right.
I've had him since he was 4. He went back to live with his mother for 1 year.
Right.
Broke my heart that he wanted to go back. Because I'm sitting there like, you want to do what, Slim? Right. I called my mom. I was like, Mom, what? She was like, calm yourself down. She's like, this ain't about you.
Right.
She was like, let that young man do what he wants to do.
Right.
She was like, because you don't ever want to be the roadblock in between him and his mother, and neither should she be the roadblock between y'all. No. And you just need those people in your life right now in there to check you to go, hey.
That ain't it.
This ain't about you.
That ain't about you.
What the baby needs. If this helps the baby, if this can grow the baby, and for her to be graduating early, getting ready for school, and all those great things, I think that's a beautiful process.
And in the process, of course, I took the village when she decided to go live with him. I took the village to go visit.
You took New York to Alabama?
I took New York to Alabama.
Ooh, I would have been a fly on the wall in that scene.
Because at the end of the day,
the Timberlands was in Alabama. They had on Timberlands and Nike hats with shorts and socks in Alabama.
And they was stepping out here letting them know.
I wanted to see him when the mosquito hit him for the first time. Like, what kind of mosquitoes is this?
They wanted to make sure I believed it was the best thing to build the bridge. Absolutely. I want to make sure the village here in New York, who had been supporting her for this long period of time, knew that I was giving this baby to a good stop. Absolutely. And I met them, and they are wonderful people.
And that's good. So now, most Southern people are, me being from Arkansas, I can tell you, most Southern people are very good people, and we love. Family is real big.
Family is real big, and she has an abundance of it. Absolutely. And I'm super grateful, and I'm proud, and it's the reason why when we talked about this subject that I was like, yeah, I'll absolutely come on here and share the story because it's personal to me. But again, people need to hear it. 10 years I didn't live in negative of where he was and what he was doing, and how dare he be out here living a life when I'm out here doing for this baby and he ain't doing that. How dare he be out here getting girls and doing what grown folks do? That's what they do.
That's what people gonna do.
That's what he gonna do. So
life is not gonna stop.
Life is not gonna stop. He clearly showed it, and why. I didn't stop either. I continued to pursue what I wanted to do and to provide for this child the best that I could. And absolutely. I put down roots, and I gave her what I believe I've always given her what I believe.
And then when the time came, you let her grow.
And I let her grow.
And ain't nothing wrong with that.
If you see the child and you listen to the child, and anybody who comes in contact with the child will tell you, they love this little girl. You ever drop your kid off and somebody say, let me speak to you outside?
Oh, you don't want to do that.
Let me talk to you outside. Because your child
off the chain.
Don't bring your child. I don't get those conversations.
No, I don't get those conversations
They love this child anywhere she goes. She is kind. She is considerate. She is definitely a makeup of both of us. But she would have never had that opportunity.
Yeah, I don't know who my kids are makeup of. I'm just happy they're nice, mannerable kids.
Absolutely.
They ain't got it all. So, but I'm glad they got it.
She is a makeup of both her parents.
That is real good to hear.
Absolutely.
Thank you for coming through and sharing that story.
You're welcome.
That was not the co-parenting story
that I thought I was. Co-parenting story. You
so when I got the twist on it, I was like, wait a minute, huh?
You thought it was going to be.
Okay. Yes. We got some positivity going on. We got
some grown folks.
Some grown adulting happening.
Grown adulting up in here.
Man, that takes me, man, before we get out of here, I got to have this 40 lesson moment with people. And I always do this thing where I have a little chat with people called the 40 lesson moment. Okay. And I kind of break down to them what I took from the conversation we just had. And what people need to understand is that this is the reality of relationships and marriages when they fail. When you have a child with someone,
yes,
and you and that person get to a place in the road where y'all no longer want to be together, please understand that the responsibility of those two people have just got greater.
Correct.
Because now that this child is not under the same roof, the parents have to do everything within and above their means.
Correct.
To make sure that this child has the balance, the love, and the stability they need to grow properly into this earth to become who they have been destined to be.
Yes.
Kids kill themselves. Kids get on drugs. Kids do all these things because of what's going on with their parents.
Yes.
And they take on the accountability of what's happening between two grown adults. People.
Correct.
And we need to make sure as parents that we don't allow that to happen. There's not a situation that ended that I didn't make sure my kids knew. Well, I remember when I divorced my wife and we had children together. I set both of my children down. I let them know this has nothing to do with y'all.
You. Absolutely.
Me and your mom
right.
are going separate ways because of things we can't figure out.
Correct.
This is not about you two. We love y'all to death. Correct. And to this day, we show up at their events together.
Right.
We do things with them together. Yes. We try our best to present them a balanced picture of both of their parents sharing in their special moments.
Right.
Because that's really all your child needs. Yes. They just want both of their parents to be a part of their special moments.
And that caveat is me and his wife are friends.
Are y'all?
We are. Because again,
you ain't gonna be a sister wife soon.
We are not going to be a sister wife. That is definitely out of the question.
I ain't here to judge. I'm just here to ask the question.
What we are saying is,
okay.
I have no reason to be mad at this lady.
And when you don't have no attachments to the situations, you can be friends. You can be all those things. And plus, this woman is around your child.
She is.
You should be friends with her. You should want to know who she is.
But how many mothers do you know do that in this situation?
Well, I'm gonna let you keep saying the woman stuff. I ain't gonna mess with her. See, Tori gonna come back and she gonna have stuff. I tell you, I leave the women stuff alone. But men too. It's some dudes out there that's in their feelings. Yes. That's holding baby mamas back from living their lives.
Absolutely.
They over there every time she find a boyfriend or a good man to be with.
He come
through blowing up the spot, being you ain't bought no neck bones, no water, right. no pull ups, no nothing. And all of a sudden she got somebody smiling at her. Now all of a sudden you over here.
The problem.
Absolutely. You ain't gonna sit yourself in a corner and stop. Hey, either come to the table and be the man you supposed to be, or go on about your business and let a man do what he there to do. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? So, man, shout out to all the women out there that's holding it down, that's being adults and being real solid communicators with your partner. Shout out to all the men out there stepping up, doing your part. Single dads. I'm a single dad, so I always shout out to single dads because, you know, there's single dads out there too.
Trust me, I know them.
People act like they dinosaurs or fossils, you know, but they exist.
I know.
Black men do take care of their kids. I don't know why people don't know that, but I'm here to make the announcement.
They do.
And I'm gonna bring 4 on the show. The backside to this show is I'm gonna have 4 guys on the show, all that take care of their kids. Imagine that. I'm going to put 4 black men in a room that take care of their kids. America going to explode. They ain't going to even know what to do. They going to be like, he found 4 of them? Where he found 4 of them at? And not only 4 black men, they going to be 4 black men that have went to college, have not been incarcerated, do not have police records, and they all going to be part of the Panhellenic Council when we do it. I mean, I'm going to give them the full scope
right.
of what Brother Du Bois was talking about when he talked about the town, the 10th, and the Wakanda and all that good stuff that we preach about. It is a reality. It does exist.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you coming out.
I appreciate
Fort Greene, you know,
coming
man,
out here.
You know what I'm saying? We might, you know.
You're doing your thing.
As long as you don't, you know, hey, I'm just out here trying to do my little part.
You're doing,
you know what I'm saying?
I appreciate it. And at the end of the day, we hope that people have heard and listened to something that was obviously very personal for me. You know, I'm telling you my story, so you can sit back and Monday morning quarterback it and judge it for however you feel like you want to do it. But the bottom line is love. It's about love of that child. It's about being respectful of that second person. It's about understanding people make mistakes and they redeem
and they can come back
themselves
from them.
And
Change
they can
behavior.
come back
Absolutely.
to being a better and different person. Now, as your brotherhood get together, I want you to discuss fatherhood and fathering and what it means to be a provider. So that's going to be on topic.
We're going to have to talk about that.
Because
I'm going to get into a couple things from this show, so don't worry. It's going to be cool because I really want them to hear this situation.
Absolutely.
And then talk about, you know, the other situation. Because sometimes we can be in the home and be absent parents.
Absolutely.
Too. And so, you know, that we're gonna get into a little bit of all that, man.
A special thank you to Affilion Cigar Lounge for sponsoring this segment of the 40 Lessons podcast. You can visit Affilion Cigar Lounge at 2510 Conway Road in Gambrills, Maryland.
What's good, everybody? Welcome to the 40 Lesson Podcast. It's your boy 40 Lessons here for another week of love, life, and everything in between. I know y'all tripping. Y'all like, where is this boy at today? I'm in my element with my partners in the lounge. You know, this the season finale. It was only right that we do the season finale on Father's Day. And what other joy that I know that a man could have than sitting in the cigar lounge, smoking a cigar, talking smack with some of his good friends.
Yes, sir.
But today we ain't gonna be talking smack. I got a couple of my buddies from the lounge hanging out with me. We're gonna be talking about something serious. The previous, you know, we was talking about co-parenting in the previous segment. And, you know, I figured, you know, I heard a woman's point of view with the co-parents, and it was only right that I brought the fellas in to talk about not only, you know, when marriages break down and we have to get into a co-parenting situation, but we're going to also get into a little bit of what some of the stereotypes in black fatherhood is. Why people are always so shocked by the excellence of black fathers when it happens, you know. You can be on the social media and you'll see 1 million likes for a black daddy playing with his daughter as if we don't do that or something. I mean, it's like, when this started, this ain't new. This is what we've been doing for years. But anyway, let me let y'all know who's sitting here with me today. Go ahead, E, man. Introduce yourself. Tell them who you are, what you do, and what's them colors you got on over there.
I'm Eric Hunter. This is Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, Root to the Bros. I work at a local community college. I work in education, been in education 25 years. And I work with students who are troubled and try to get them back on track and get their lives together.
My man.
And I'm Marcellus Major. I'm the president of Avant-Garde Engineering. We're an IT consulting firm. And I'm representing Kappa Alpha Psi. And I'm glad to be here. And I'm a father. And I'm proud of it. And I love doing it.
My man.
My name is Xavier Storr. I'm a federal employee, retired military. Been working with the federal government for 28 years now. I'm a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, A5. And I'm happy to be here, brother.
Yeah, he ain't got no shirt though. That's it. But we gonna put him in the cut when the show. I'm just playing, y'all. All our organizations are non-hazing organizations.
Non-hazing.
And just in case y'all didn't know, your boy 40 Lesson was a member of the Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Blue Phi to all my brothers out there checking out the show today. What's up to the Soros, the Zeta Phi Beta, all that good stuff. So, hey man, listen. We was talking about, we're going to get right into it. I was talking with Fort Greene on the last segment. We was talking about co-parenting. And she had a unique co-parenting situation. She had her daughter pretty much most of her daughter's life. And, you know, around the 20 years that she was getting ready to, you know, leave middle school, go to high school or whatnot, finally got dad back in the picture. And then, you know, a mother let her daughter go not across town, but from like New York to Alabama to be with her father, and I was like, wow, we don't really see that happen. You know, it's with the co-parenting situation, man. What is some of the things we should know in that situation? How do we remove ourselves? We'll start with you, Marcel. How do we remove ourselves from those situations to where we do what's best for the child? Because that's really what it's about, right?
Right.
And so many times the emotions of the adults get involved, and we're not doing what's best for the child.
Well, it's hard to do that initially, right? Because whatever causes separation, the divorce, whatever it is, that's difficult. Me, myself, I went to a class. That was the first thing I did. I went to a class. There was a class given by the county, and it was on how to co-parent. And it talked about the basic things. Don't put the child in the middle. Don't have arguments through the child. Getting your own emotional life in order so that you don't have to put the child in the middle. And that was the biggest thing. And then, clearly being consistent. Learning how to realize children work on consistency. And even though there's some things that I might not have liked my ex-wife to do, I'm like, okay, look, for consistency's sake, we might do A, B, C, and D. But then also have a constant conversation with the kids on, I know we in 2 houses, but your upbringing is going to be consistent. Absolutely. And that's just something that you got to keep on ringing in over and over again until you get it right. And it's a lot of practice, but if you put the time in and you practice it, it will work really well.
E, man, I see you, me and you hang out a little bit, and I know how you are with your boys and everything, and I know that that's a co-parenting situation for you, but it seems like every time I look, you seem like it's 5 days, 7 days a week, it seems like at times. And that was one thing I liked about Fort Greene, man. Her whole story was an example of a woman really removing her emotions from the situation. She did what was best for her daughter because she wanted her daughter to have that relationship. And don't think she didn't take some losses as far as having to be away from her, having to, travel to see her,
right.
Her being away from extended family, you know what I'm saying? What you do, E, to kind of close some of those gaps between, your son's mom and you?
Trust.
Oh, okay.
I defer to their mom a lot when it comes to things because I trust her. Again, kind of like what Marcellus was saying, I take my feelings about her out of the equation and what's best for my sons. Now, I don't agree with all the decisions she makes, but I trust that she's making the decisions that are in the best interest of the boys. And I let her play them out. We disagree, but again, that's their mom, and I trust her, and I trust, when we were together, I knew if I had children with this woman, she makes pretty good decisions. She doesn't make the same kind of decisions I would make. Right. But just because they're different don't mean they're any worse. So, we spend a lot of time talking about doing a lot of planning. Okay. It's the summertime, summertime is coming up, vacation schedules. It requires a lot of planning. It's work. And I always have to think that it's not about me. It's not about her. It's about the boys. And how do we, to Marcellus's point, provide consistency for the boys? So, I trust her. I don't necessarily agree with her all the time, but I trust her decisions. And not just consistency and trust, as Eric and Marcellus were talking about, and people I tell people all the time, sometimes communication ain't going nowhere. That's gonna have to be a part of any relationship. I don't care whether y'all in a relationship, whether y'all co-parent or whatever. You're gonna have to communicate with this person to be effective in how you're raising these children, to give these children some type of consistency in their upbringing. Like, they shouldn't see something drastically different at my home that they see at your home. And we should kind of be on the same page, not trying to be in each other's business, but really understanding some of the foundational values. What are some of the things, X, that you've dealt with in your situation with your daughter and things of that nature and bringing her up?
Well, I have actually 2 kids. I have a son that I raised from Maryland in Florida. Okay. So to Eve's point, I had to trust his mom to help us have consistency with raising him. Did an excellent job. He's in college. He's doing well. With my daughter, again, trust. We communicate fairly well. We make sure everything is consistent. She's involved in a lot of activities, a lot of sports. And again, trust and consistency. And as you say, you got to have the same things in their household that I have in mine, and that's worked. And that's worked. And my daughter's doing very well. So yeah, I'm pleased with how things have turned out for me. Although it wasn't an ideal situation, but through consistency, trust, and just working together, we got it done. And we're raising pretty successful kids.
Man, I'm hearing y'all had this conversation, and I'm sitting here like, man, if I just watched the media though, I wouldn't even know black fathers existed. Why are people make such a big deal out of what we do every day, no different than getting up and breathing? Why is this such a shock to people, that black men are actually involved in their children's lives, that are actually responsible? In some cases, I'm a single dad. I got my oldest boy, even though I co-parent with my other children, I raised my oldest boy as a single dad. And people act like, that's some phenomenal feat. E, back to you. What is it that society is seeing about black men that makes them think that we incapable of being the cornerstone of the black family?
Well, and it's not some people; it's people outside of our communities.
Oh, okay.
And that's the key. And what a lot of folks don't realize is we still look out for each other's kids within our community. Mm-hmm. And if you believe what folks see on TV, they define us by what they see on TV. Mm. And we were having this conversation the other day about, folks in foreign countries and what they see regarding us on television. They see rap videos, they see, all the other kind of excesses, and they believe that's how we all live our lifestyles. Mm-hmm. And even the people on TV don't live their lives the way they portray themselves on television. So, we have to work and demonstrate that, no, that's not who we are, that's a caricature of us. Mm-hmm. And if you want to believe that, and that's what they believe, and if you hear enough, again, remember, a large majority of people that look like us are on the coast. There's a whole lot of country in between. Right. And those are the folks who see us, or they have a picture of us being something other than, what we're not. And again, when you have that in your mind, when you do come across it, you go back to the most negative things you see about that stuff. Like we have certain stereotypes and biases that we hold regarding other people in other places, but because that's all we know. Right. I've never lived in the Midwest. And then I have my own images of what the Midwest is like, and that comes from television.
Marcellus, man, I'm from Arkansas by way of St. Louis.
Right.
So when I got to the East Coast, man, I tell people this all the time because I've been in Maryland now since 2001, mm-hmm. And just to kind of piggyback off what E was just talking about, Black America don't look like Maryland, no. Oakland. Detroit,
Miami,
Miami, parts of Texas. If you in Dallas or Houston, mm-hmm. Black America, or New Orleans to some degree. Philly, absolutely. Even parts of Jersey and Brooklyn before Brooklyn was Brighton. Mm-hmm. Black America didn't look like that in every place. What is it for you about this area that helps us thrive? And I'm speaking specifically in black men, because we're in a cigar lounge that is owned by black men, right. That is predominantly visited by black men, mm-hmm. and I ain't talking about no slouches. I'm talking about well educated, well degreed, mm-hmm. Own their own businesses. Some of them are retired, prior military, prior whatever you can come up with. There is not no criminals and thugs sitting in this place on a daily basis. If you believe what America say about us, this place shouldn't even be able to exist the way that it does under the way we enjoy ourselves on a regular basis here. What is it about Maryland that makes us one of the exceptions to the rule, or are we the rule and people just don't know it?
So we are the new rule. We're the new rule. I think what you see is you have a community of people that are transitioning from how our fathers and mothers used to interact society economically, educational wise. We are like what I like to call, we are black people 2.0. Now that Barack Obama's become president and we've seen a solid administration going through, it's changed, I believe, the way people will see African Americans forever. And because we're at the epicenter of that, we gonna benefit from it the most. Prince George's County, I don't think is an anomaly. It's just the fact that you have a lot of well-educated. You have Howard University, all these HBCUs. We're going to get the best and the brightest because the economic situation here demands the best and the brightest to be here. And slowly but surely, I believe it's going to continue to spread out to other cities as they get a chance to enjoy some of the same things that we're enjoying here. But it is simply, we are at the beginning of a new phase. And we still coming back from the days when it was the 70s, we had a lot of black exploitation, poverty. I mean, what people see on us from TV in the 70s was, man might be working, might not be giving it, might not be paying child support. These things are the remnants of the past, but we still see them, and now we got to work really hard to get those images out of our mind, and it's going to take a while. So it's not going to change overnight from a perception standpoint, but we have to still keep grinding and let everybody know this is what we're doing now.
The other thing we hear, and it cracks me up when I hear it on television.
What's that?
They talk about, this is the first generation destined not to do as well as their parents.
Oh.
I don't see that. I don't see that in our community.
I don't see that.
Neither do I.
I don't see that with black men.
My parents are not telling me that.
I don't see that with black men. I grew up in the projects in Newark, New Jersey. There are a lot of families, traditional unit families there. We had grandma and them there to keep us in line while dads went out and worked. I have a lot of friends who grew up in single parent homes. I didn't. I had two parents, and we lived in the projects. And growing up, my father, I didn't think we were poor. My father said we were poor, but my job is to make sure you don't feel it. And we were all able to prosper because of our family. Like you said, this place here, I have never been around so many educated, talented black men ever. And that's why I come here specifically, to be around people who are just like me and that I can learn from. I learn stuff from all you fellas. Every time we sit around and we get on a topic or talk about things, regardless of what it is, there's always a unique perspective. And again, we represent all parts of the country, and we all have a lot of things in common.
Exactly.
And those common things bring us here, but our experiences, man, there's just a wealth of information here, knowledge in here, and including, we always talk about how we raise our children.
Right.
And that's key, especially, for me, I have two sons. And like I always tell folks, my sons watch me. They watch everything I do, and they learn from the things I do. So it's incumbent upon me to always be, to think about what I do, where I do, and who I do it with.
And be consistent.
Even when it comes to the treatment of women, my sons are going to treat women the way they see me treat
Absolutely.
women.
Right.
So I think about that as well.
I think you said something pretty important.
Go ahead.
And that was the I've almost lost my train of thought now. But when I'm gonna let you come. No, I'm gonna let you come back to that.
I was gonna come to you for something anyway, real quick.
Okay.
Two-parent household.
Yes.
In Miami.
Yes.
You wasn't selling drugs and out there killing nobody, man. How is this possible? You went to the Coast Guard and you a professor and all this.
Listen,
but you supposed to be a thug and a killer. Black folks don't care about their kids, man.
Again, that's a stereotype of 305 Dade County men.
Right.
But my hood saved me, actually.
Talk about that, because you Haitian. Is that right?
No, I'm Bahamian.
Bahamian?
Yeah, but I'm from
Explain the difference, because some of us people just black.
So Haiti is...
You know what? You're going to be a timeout in a second.
Haitians are from the island of Haiti.
Amen.
My family, my great-grandfather moved to Miami as a young man from the Bahamas, and my family, we are of Bahamian descent.
Amen.
And we lived the Bahamian lifestyle basically, and growing up in Miami. But growing up, I was always deemed that smart kid, not a nerd, just a smart kid. And my homies, well, they'll let me hang around, but when it got rough, they say you
gotta get up out of here.
You know where you need to be.
Yeah. And so I just never had to deal with anything adverse. I might have had a couple fights here and there, you know what I'm saying, but I always had my hood on my side. We all took boxing growing up, so we could all handle ourselves. I just never had issues like that, and they just let me, make sure I was good.
Can I say something real quick?
Absolutely.
And that's the thing that folks don't realize, we are excellent at spotting talent.
Absolutely.
The folks where he grew up, where I grew up, they knew yo,
he got a shot.
He got a shot.
We're going to protect him.
And we're going to protect him because
he ain't going to be allowed to get in this foolishness.
That's our dividend right there.
That's it.
Listen,
that's our dividend.
I tried to get in foolishness.
And they sent you home.
Yeah. Even as a grown man.
You ain't about that life.
Exactly.
But D, something that Eric said is that we actually talk about raising our children.
Yeah.
See, when we can be anywhere in this lounge, somewhere else in Prince George's County, and you hear men talking about, this is what I'm about to do with my child.
Right.
I want to take him to a college tour. I'm doing this weekend. So we
talked about how they got on our nerves and we was about to hang them out the window. You know what I'm saying?
But the constant and it's positive. Sometimes it's not the greatest things we got to talk about.
Absolutely.
But we're willing to share and have that conversation with another man and say, what can you tell me? Maybe I'm missing something. Mm-hmm. And we do that freely.
You know, and just I'm gonna hit off something Eric was just talking about, because I don't want to sit here and paint the picture like, don't get me wrong, there's not negative aspects to the African American community or the African American black male.
The black experience, yeah.
Right. We do have some people that are not moving in the lanes that they should be moving in.
Right.
But I'm gonna say this, and we lost Nipsey a few months ago. Lost him too soon. Black father, not only black father, but a steward of his community, an entrepreneur that was actually trying to raise up businesses and things of that nature to give his people a shot to have something, and was trying to, I'm wearing one of his products right here. The Marathon Continues. This shirt is from that company, the Marathon. Please support Nipsey and their movement. The movement is still going on. They still in business. You can still help him out. But my point of that was, he was one of those guys on the block that was keeping other youngins off the block, that was trying to make sure stuff was in place so that these kids didn't have to go through the gang life that he went through, that put him in jail and things of that nature. And people don't talk about that part of gang culture, to where the gangs come together and go, hey man, that dude, and that dude, they on the basketball team, old boy play track, make sure they get home every day. Oh, you need some shoes? Don't worry, you ain't gonna be doing what we doing to get shoes. Somebody will drop some shoes off by your house. What size you wear? Right. Because you ain't gonna be out here on this block with us. We want you going to school. We want you at your games. We want you doing everything you can so you can get up out of here. Right. So you can go do something for this community one day, instead of just being here in the drama of it.
Right.
It's just amazing that part of the story never gets told for the community.
Because the picture has been painted that criminality is unique to black people. And it is not. It is in every community.
The 40 Lessons podcast is executive produced by Shining Starlet Entertainment. For production consults, go to www.shiningstarlet.com.
There are people from different cultures and backgrounds sitting around doing the same thing we do, and it's no different. But it's always the fear of the other. Right. It's the fear of what we don't know. Growing up, I grew up in a segregated neighborhood, and there were all kinds of segregated neighborhoods. And our only way of surviving was to take care of each other. Now again, there's crime everywhere. There's crime in our community. There's a lot of crime there's too much crime in our community. But any one of us being successful and living the lives we've led can go back to our communities. And we often do. We always talk about going home.
Absolutely.
Because there are a lot of friends that I grew up with who were not as fortunate as I've been, who have not had the same breaks that I've had, but we still cool. And I don't get down with some of the things that they do, but I remember growing up that some of these dudes took care of me. They took care of me. Their mamas took care of me. When you ain't never going to nobody's house in our neighborhood. You hungry, baby?
Yep, absolutely.
You gonna eat.
Being poor does not mean that you don't care about other human beings.
Exactly.
See, that's the concept. Is if I'm a thug, this is not Scarface.
And poor is
this is not.
What's a thug?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Right.
And poor is not your dignity.
Right. It's not.
It's your economic status.
That's correct.
And that's based on something the government put in place. It has nothing to do with the people you are.
It doesn't mean you don't have empathy for people.
Absolutely.
Don't mean that you don't care about their mother. I mean, yeah, we have some tough dudes and some tough people in our communities, but it doesn't mean that they don't care. We got other issues, but people still care.
Yeah, and I think folks don't really understand just how involved in our community we are. I want to shift gears and talk about our individual organizations. people, we tease each other all the time with the Phi Beta Sigma or the A Phi A or the Omega Psi Phi and the Ka Psi. And what people don't really understand is that I actually rock with these dudes. Like, our Greek affiliation don't separate the bonds of men that exist between us. What I tell people is, if you're dealing with a real dude, I'm talking about a real dude that's in one of these organizations, we understand that the colors actually bring us closer, because that instantly tells us we got more in common than we don't have in common. Right. The fact that we're even in Greek letter organization speaks volumes to who we are as men and how we see ourselves, and the things we're associated with, during our educational years and things of that nature. Talk about, Marcellus, I know you do a real dope mentorship. I want you to talk about that for a minute. You got like 10 guys you rock with.
So
talk about that for a minute.
I had a house, and I loved that house. I raised my 3 sons in this house, and when I looked at the house, I said, I could sell it. But I thought to myself, why sell it? It's big enough. Why not put some young men in the house and let the house be a house that builds another set of young men? Because my sons are in college. One's graduated right now and working and doing this thing. The other one's graduated from high school. Now he's on his way to college. When I have another son that is in college. So when I look at that house, I can't help but remember I had 3 men that came out of that house.
You brought some good stock out that house.
Right. So why not put another set of young men in there and give them what I gave them and give them a way to understand, here's how you go from being in your mother's house to getting to the next level. And for me, it lets the life and the spirit of what my house was about continue on and on and on. So for me, it's personal.
Because it ain't a money thing, right?
It's not a money thing.
You probably losing money on what you're doing.
Well, now, we ain't never losing money. We still always have business. I like to. I'm dead serious, because I said, look, everybody in this house has a number to make.
So you're teaching them responsibility.
No doubt about it. Because I don't believe in crippling a man. You have to make a number. Now, if you don't make your number, and I can't tell you how we actually explain it, but I'm gonna say it's a number. Everybody in that house has to know what their number is. And you have to figure out as a man how to make your number. And if that includes children, child support, you have to know how to make your number. Because I have to know in my everyday what my number is.
Absolutely.
And so I take that on. I enjoy working with them. We meet up once a week, do a phone conference, and we do things that I take for granted. How do you go down to a Job Corps? How do you figure out how to get your resume updated? What's your skill set? And sometimes it means I got to come out of my pocket, because I believe that if you get that certification, I would love to have that money. But long term, that money is going to do better for you, your family, what you do outside of here than in my pocket.
And he going to remember what somebody like you did for him. And he going to in turn be that same person in society looking to return the favor to some young man. E, talk about what you do in your position on a daily basis, because you come across a lot of different things sometimes. And they're not always coming from wholesome situations in your line of work, right?
So I used to work at a bunch of Research One universities. I was a big fish in a big pond. And I was finding that I wasn't coming across a lot of guys who looked like me. And there were a lot of people there that were, at predominantly white institutions, ensuring that these kids were successful. But when I would see our kids, when those that would graduate, they were usually, what's your next move? Well, I'm going to go back home and look for a job. You're going to graduate college and you haven't had any internships or experiences like that?
Crazy.
They weren't offering those to us. Where these other kids, they leaving from college, getting right into the work world. They had jobs waiting for them. And I wanted to work with kids that looked like me. And I wanted to help those kids figure out a plan. You got to have a game plan when you leave here. Exactly. I was first generation college. My parents had no idea how to navigate college and how to prepare to get out of there.
Yeah, tell the story you told me yesterday. We was talking about when your dad took you down to North Carolina. That was crazy how you told. I just couldn't even believe it was just that blatant.
My father, my father was a butcher. He was a union butcher. Graduated. He finished 10th grade. Then he had to go out and work. And my father was about hard work. And when he dropped me off at school, he turned around and he said, "I don't want to hear from these people, and I'll see you when you graduate." and that was the only time when he dropped me off and when I graduated. Those were the only 2 times my father visited me in college.
Wow.
And but there were other kids back at the house, so you're here, do your thing. I gotta go take care of your siblings and my family. So, and for me, I was representing everybody.
And you knew you couldn't mess up.
I could not mess up.
And see, people don't even understand. Oh man, they don't even get the gravitas of those moments when you the first. I was the first child out my mama's house. I left at 18. Right. I knew I couldn't come back to my mama's house.
I'm gonna have to hit that too, because when literally, when I was in engineering school, when I was walking through those halls and it was getting kind of like dark some days at the grades, that's what kept me pushing. Like, you can't go back. Now you got a sister, you got 2 sisters. People are looking at you like this guy is the truth. You don't have a choice, and that's a pressure that most people sometimes they don't have to understand the pressure of being that first and carrying the weight of those that are coming behind you.
I got a very different story. My entire family is highly educated.
Wow. I mean, so you had the other pressure.
Exactly. Like,
so you had to perform.
So at 12
you had I wish I would be the one that don't do
at 12, the conversation is like this. So where you going to grad school? We're not even talking about.
Can I get my BA first?
I mean, that's real talk.
Right, can I get out of high school? Right.
I mean, it's a requirement almost in my family to get a college degree. And a bachelor's degree, you kind of like, okay, what we doing now, And so
they would give you a salt clap on the bachelor's degree, like that was cute. That was cute.
Now what's real film?
And so one of the things that I do to help my community is I have adult learners. As Blue said, I'm a college professor, and I understand how to navigate college as an adult student, and I help my shipmates and anybody else that'll listen on how to get their degree, how not to settle for whatever they're doing in life at the present time. And you'll find me always talking to people, encouraging them, offering help, and that's been something that I've been doing for years, starting off with my shipmates in the military. And
I we're talking about fathers. I have, all my friends, even in here, when we're at that age now where our kids are starting to go off to college and all that other kind of stuff, I encourage people to call me. Absolutely. And I tell my friends, your job is not done once you drop them off at their dorm. That's when your job begins. Because, especially if you're dropping a black child off at a predominantly white institution, and they're, and you drop them in that environment where
you just put them in a fishbowl.
You put them in a fishbowl.
Sometimes hostile.
You walking across campus and you see another black face, and you look at that black face with like, my man, I know you're gonna come over here and holler at me,
right?
It ain't that many of us walking around,
right?
And again, my father didn't come and visit me in college, but whenever I called home to check in with mama, you could hear dad in the background. Let me talk to him when you're done.
Yeah.
Because he just want you okay.
Want to make sure you good.
Want to make sure you good. Want to make sure you're okay.
And they knew by the sound of our voice
whether we were good.
We didn't even have to tell them the story. They could, you all right? They'll know if we need to get in the car or if we good for the next phone phone call, man. What is that?
Till the grades get there.
Nowadays it's text. Because my son texted me yesterday, Dad, I need you to send me some money, blah, blah, blah. And with that Cash App, it's on.
Oh, man.
But I check on. I go down to North Carolina to see my son a couple times. He's only a freshman. I've been down there 3 times already.
But we're different. See, fatherhood has evolved from when we were kids. Because our fathers, my father, his motto was, I got to take care of my family.
Yes.
I got to take care of my family. I got to provide for them, and I got to get them out my house. My role, or the way I see my role now, is all those things, plus I got to make sure that if something happens to me, that they can take care of themselves and thrive. And that's my focus with my sons.
Yeah.
One, making sure you survive, black boys, making sure you survive this world. Because, I had this conversation with some of my white colleagues. While y'all sitting down talking to your sons about dating and girls and all this, my son just started driving. Here's what you do when you get pulled over.
Exactly.
Here's how you handle dealing with the police. And again, be confident, be strong, be assertive in who you are. You don't take a backseat to anybody. But my point in the conversation is teaching him how to survive. how to survive that encounter.
I had that very conversation with my oldest boy is 13. He'll be 14 in October, but he's 13, 5'9", almost 5'10". And Ava DuVay just dropped her Netflix series, The Way They See Us. And I told him, I said, yo, we're gonna sit down and watch this together this week, because I want to point out some things to you in this show and why certain things matter the way that she's portrayed this film. Because I told him, I said, as you're going out into the world now, the world won't see you as my 13, 14-year-old son. Nope. You cannot be 13, 14, towering at 6'1", 6'2", and the cop don't perceive you as a man.
As a threat.
For some odd reason, our black boys are perceived as a threat.
Yeah.
I don't care how innocent he may look. I don't care if his pants pulled up. I don't care what it is. We have to give our kids a different conversation than the rest of America has to give theirs. And that is unfortunate, it is unfair, but it is something we have accepted as the black family, and we know it's something we have to put in the repertoire.
Well, you know what, D? I look at it as, even though it's unfortunate we have to have these tough conversations, I use that tough conversation to talk about things besides just the tough sides.
Absolutely.
Like, how are we going to navigate being in corporate America? See, that's a conversation that I have to have with my son. Now, look, yes, you're going to a great job, but that's only half the battle. I need to tell you where all the landmines are as you are going through this process of trying to forward your career. How are you going to manage your social life? Okay?
Absolutely.
Social life is important now, because this is not a game anymore.
No.
Actions have consequences.
They have consequences.
Okay.
And the lines ain't even blurred.
And
the lines are more than blurred.
This is no blur.
Yeah.
I drag both my kids off social media.
Right.
Especially my son. I'm like, nah, we don't even need that.
Right.
And you got to understand how to deal.
There's a future to be had.
That's right.
Well, and you got to understand how some of those things you say on social media, some of those things you do on social media, when you interacting with the opposite sex and things of that nature, things are. You got to make sure that the person you talking to on the same page you on, y'all having the same conversation, talking about the same thing,
right?
Because things can go left very quickly, and you don't even see the card turn.
No, you don't.
Man,
and they don't know.
And it's easy for them to get caught up. Social media. I talk with my sons about social media. My son had a young lady send him a picture that was a little inappropriate.
Oh man!
And they're both, at the time my son was 15. I said, you realize this is child pornography.
Yep.
And even though,
right, it's on Facebook.
Somebody send it to you, you still are in possession of it. And
right.
You have to have those conversations. And again, they don't know. They are learning.
Nope.
They're learning. And we spend more time. I think we spend a good amount of time with our kids talking about right, wrong. The different traps that they can fall into, unbeknownst to them. They're just out being kids.
Right.
And that's the one thing, sometimes I get a little frustrated with, and I get frustrated with myself, and I ask myself, am I robbing them of their childhood? A little bit of being young and innocent. And that's one of the pieces, as you talk about co-parenting, that their mom is great at.
Right.
Because she checks me sometimes, and are you being a little too rough? And she's one of the first, she acknowledges, I'm not a black man. I don't know what it's like to be a black man. You do, but I also want you to understand.
But we do want to introduce a balance.
I want to have a balance, and I want them to have a childhood. I want them to be able to get out and enjoy. And again, I have to stop back and I have to trust her, because when it comes to my sons, it's difficult for me to take my emotions out.
Exactly.
Because those are my boys.
And that's a great thing you just said. See, that's another word. They're mine.
They're mine.
See, that psychological side
is a whole nother standpoint.
It means something.
Absolutely.
When you say those are my children.
Exactly.
And those are hers. They're yours.
Yeah.
And when you feel like it's yours, it's a sense of responsibility, because that's where it came from you.
Right.
And we got to continue to kind of use those words psychologically, put it into our mind that's my responsibility. That's my flesh. That's my blood.
And I know there are a few folks out there, but I don't know any black man, at least I haven't met any, that does not take possession or ownership of their children. And I know everyone in here. I walk from here to wherever for my kids.
Absolutely.
I go from here to hell for my kids with no problem.
And man, we're gonna have to let that be the last word that they hear. That knowing how black men really ride for their children.
Yes, sir.
Man, I really want to appreciate y'all for coming out, man, and hanging out with me, having a smoke with me.
Drinks on you?
Yeah.
Hey, that's on tape. Is that on tape?
Well, he didn't say yeah yet.
He didn't say yeah.
You got 40 lessons.
He kind of skirted that.
I got you some 40 less of water. Whatever you need.
You're right. Good out.
Yeah, right. I'm here to help.
Hey, can I say something real quick?
Real quick, because my EP about to get on me.
I know you know, and I say this to brothers that watch, man. It's hard. It's hard being a father. It's hard being a father.
Responsibly.
And
yes,
you know, responsibly. But there are brothers out here to talk to. There are brothers out here to give advice, to get advice from. You know, we ride for each other.
Absolutely.
You know, we ride, and it's cool to sit down and say, man, I'm gonna put my hands on this little boy if he don't chill out, or little girl. And you know, not only will I drive the getaway car if you put your hands on them, but I also wanted to work with you before we had to put our hands on them.
Absolutely.
no doubt.
And man, I just really wanted to do something like this for Father's Day because, you know, the black father don't get, you know, enough publicity about what we do in our homes and how we are there for our children.
Right.
And that, you know, not to take anything away from our black queens and what they do on a daily basis, but all of them are not doing it alone, even if they're not in a relationship with us. There are plenty of us that are at the table helping, making decisions, contributing to the everyday life of our children. And I just thought it was a perfect way to wrap the first season of 40 Lessons. This episode will air the Monday after Father's Day. So man, I'm saying happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Do what we doing, man. Get you a smoke.
Hey.
Get you something that relaxes you.
Yes, sir.
I don't
chicken.
I don't advocate drinking, but hey, something brown, whatever you need, whatever works for you, man. We want you to have your day the way you want to have your day, man. As always, you can follow your boy 40 Lessons at 40 Lessons. You can follow the girl Tori Strick, who ain't here today because it's a man's conversation. So we had to kick Tori out the room. But you know, much love to Tori. You can follow her at Tori Strick. As always, I'm produced by the extraordinary executive producer from at Shining Starlet Entertainment. If you need anything film or production service, please reach out. You can also catch the show on YouTube, SoundCloud, and Spotify. The show airs every Monday. If you missed some things, man, we're about to wrap the season for a few weeks, so you'll have time to catch up, subscribe, share, tell a friend, send us some comments, let us know what you think about what we're doing. We're going to go back in the lab and, you know, we'll see what we're going to do in season 2 for you, man. So, you know, as I always tell you, you say it's yours. Let's go get it.